All right. Well, the first thing I wanted to do is start by thanking the search committee. We had 14 people on the committee. It was quite a process. We had a number of people that are coaches throughout the UP, some faculty members, some university staff members. And to do a search like that, to do a public search, it takes a good month and a half, and it's a big commitment. So I was really happy when I called each of the people, and they all agreed right away to help us out. I thought that was really a great sign that people really wanted to see the men's basketball program get back to where it's been historically. People don't think of what a commitment that is when you have some meetings. You have to actually go through and kind of rate 98 applicants, and they're all qualified applicants. They're all people with NCAA Division I, II, and III experience, or else junior college head coaching experience. So you have to really look at them carefully and try to weigh who should be Skype interviewed. We did the 16 Skype interviews and then picked 4 people to bring to campus. So again, it took about a month and a half, and there's some risk when you do a public search like that, because if things don't go the way you hope they'll go, it's all public. Everybody knows what's going on, but there can be great things when it goes well. And in this case, we had a great committee, a great group of people, and it went very smooth. And it was just a pleasure to meet those people and work with those people. So next, I want to introduce our new head men's basketball coach, Bill Sall. Bill's most recently the head coach at Ferris State University. He had a playing career at Calvin College. He was an assistant at Calvin College, went to be an assistant at Ferris State, and was the interim head coach for a year there. Then he went to be an assistant at Hillsdale for a few years, and then came back to Ferris and has been the head coach for the last 11 years. During that time, they've had 4 GLIAC championships, been to the NCAA tournament 3 times, and I think his record kind of on and off the court speaks for itself. So without further ado, I'll introduce Bill Sall.
Thanks, Forrest. Appreciate it, son. I'd like to thank everybody for coming. It's very interesting in the process of going through this search. The one thing that really stuck out to me is just the community of Marquette and the friendliness and the willingness to help of everybody at Northern Michigan University. I'd like to thank President Haynes as well as Forrest Carr and the search committee for going through the process. And again, it's a tough process to go through as a coach, but I also understand being on search committees to be in a position where you really find the right candidate through it all. And again, I'm very humbled to be that selection. If you look back through the years here of just some great coaches, Glenn Brown, Stan Albeck, Dean Ellis, Tom Izzo, those are names that not only are here in the UP and in Northern Michigan area, but throughout the country and certainly throughout the state. And to be listed along those coaches, again, it's a great honor to be the 14th head coach here at Northern Michigan University. It's going to be a great process, but it's going to take time. We are certainly ready to hit the ground running. Lots of details to take care of, but it is truly an honor and a pleasure. The last time I was here standing with Northern Michigan University stuff behind me through the interview process, I didn't know really if it felt right or not, but being in a situation really, especially with Forrest and seeing his leadership, it feels really, really good to now be the head basketball coach at Northern Michigan University.
Bill, in the interview process, you talked about the challenges you faced in rebuilding programs before. How does this compare to those situations?
They're all similar. When you rebuild, you're in a scenario where you have a team that obviously is fractured, a team that has not had a lot of success, and so it's the process of first off really building that base back. You have to get the players that are here and the ones that really want to be committed to being a team to get back them and have them on the same page. And then it's about the process of going and recruiting quality student athletes that want to be Wildcats. And I'm excited about really hitting the road. And it's amazing to me, as you know, you've started here today and really yesterday of starting to talk to recruits. There's a lot of excitement about Northern Michigan and Northern Michigan University.
Coach, what was the deciding factor for you to make the jump? Because I know you're at Ferris a long time, had a lot of success there, and now you're coming to a spot that hasn't had success in a while. What was that deciding factor?
You know, it was interesting, and I've heard this said a lot, you know, even from coaches that I know. First off, I talked to a lot of coaches, and wanted to just ask them their personal opinion. Is this a good move? Is this a good spot? And it was amazing how many coaches that I trust said, this is a good move for you. And then along with that, really spent a lot of time with my wife, Karen, just discussing, you know, do we feel that this is the right spot for us? And overwhelmingly, after coming up here, we really thought that was the case, without a doubt. You know, there's a lot of stuff out there with it being a lateral move. This is a lateral move within your conference, and I don't really determine a lateral move. It's just a great move. It's just a really good, solid move that I feel was in the best interest of our family moving forward.
Coach, you mentioned hitting the road for your recruiting. Where do you feel is the strength for recruiting for Northern Michigan University?
You know, as you move forward, I think you can't be specific in one area. I mean, I know we need to hit Wisconsin, and we have to find great players in the UP. We have to find players in the northern lower area of the lower peninsula. But the simple fact is you have to find players everywhere. Really be in a position where you cast the net wide and leave no stone unturned. When you rebuild, and again, the experience that I had, it's way harder right now to recruit to Northern Michigan than it is, say, for instance, Ferris State University, because there's tradition, there's winning, there's excellence. Some of those things aren't here right now. They certainly have been here in the past. And that's why I'm a firm believer that it can be there again. But when you start, you have to find kind of those gems, those hidden gems that maybe one other coach passed by that you can make sure that you recruit and find here.
Moving, you know, obviously your first step is basically re-recruiting the current team, but then after that, to fill the rest of the roster, how careful you have to be in not just bringing guys in to fill the roster. Just how does this process go about this late in the recruiting season when everyone's already looking ahead to 2014?
Absolutely. You have to make sure that you do a good job, I think, this year of filling a roster of players that you believe can make progress as you move on towards the future. I don't believe in quick fixes. I think that's when you run yourself into trouble, just trying to find a player that might not be a good fit for Northern, might not be a good fit for Marquette. So that process, and again, I'd love to tell you, you know, that well, I'll solve it in 2 weeks. Well, that's not going to be the case. It's going to take a while to get the players that we need here. And I think the big thing is, along with that, really start to develop those relationships for that 2014 class.
Coach, what style of play will you try to put in place here, and based on that, who are you going to recruit type of player?
Well, here's the interesting dilemma that you have. You have to play to the style of your players more often. And what you have in the beginning, you know, I've always been a team that, you know, we like to get up and down the floor. We like to get the ball inside. You know, we like to play good, solid pressure defense and really create some chaos on the floor. But first you got to look at your personnel. Now, in 2 years, I certainly think that and know that will happen here, and very confident that we can do that. And you know, that's really been the style that I enjoyed playing when I was at Calvin. The style that we incorporated at Hillsdale, and certainly the style we played at Ferris State for the last 11 years. So those things come with time, but you know, this first year we might have to do a few things differently just to make sure that we are in the competitive atmosphere of being able to win every game that we go and try to play.
How much is knowing the GLIAC North and the GLIAC a benefactor of taking this job?
I think it helps, obviously. I know what a good GLIAC player is. I know what makes a good GLIAC team. But again, it's amazing how every year things change. New teams come in, new teams, you know, there's always the standard bearers in our conference. But, there's always room for that other team to get in, and that's really where I see Northern Michigan fitting in as we go forward.
When you're recruiting right now for the 2013 team, how much do you look at, like you said, those high school players that got missed, and how much do you, at this point, start looking at junior college players who are uncommitted? Or maybe even look at who's available, for transfers and stuff from other D1 or D2 schools?
Like I said, the one thing we have to be able to do is not leave any stone unturned. So we have to look at every avenue that there is. In the same breath, just from experience of being a head coach for those 11 years, you want to be in a position that whoever you get, that they're coming with the intent that they're going to play for you, but they're going to graduate from this university. And I think that's the one amazing thing that Northern Michigan has that I've never seen at a Division II school. The ability that they have a focus and a determination that every student athlete that walks through those doors is going to graduate, and really gives them the resources to do that. So I really don't know, Division I transfer, junior college player, freshman. We just want to make sure we get the players that we want that actually are going to come here with the intent that they're going to finish here with a degree.
Do you possibly then on that, maybe not completely fill out your roster, use up all your scholarships this year, maybe keep a scholarship, for the future, not just give away scholarships just to fill out the roster and everything this year?
Yeah, I think that'd be foolish. I think some people think that scholarships grow on trees, but guess what? They don't. Those are hard to come by. And I would never give someone a scholarship with the hope that they could be a player or hope that they could possibly do something. Either you see something in them of where they can grow and become what you want them to be, or there's really no sense in taking them.
You hear coaches all the time say the key to having success is to hit the ground running and get a foundation early. What's some of the things you have to do right away to set that foundation?
Well, the one thing I found, again, through not only my head coaching experiences, but really with the rebuilding times, and it's very interesting. I said this in the interview. I've been a part of 3 rebuilding processes where the team was in dead last, and we were able to take all 3 of those teams and get them to be GLIAC champions and make the NCAA tournament. That process is, I think, first be able to build with what you have a little bit. That sense of that you want them to be the best, but you truly care about them as a person. And being in a situation where, along with that, you push them past really what their comfort level is and get them past that comfort level into a new area. And that's your job as a coach, to push them but really show that you care. Make it a family-type atmosphere. And I think we've done a great job of that in every job that I've had. And then the building a tradition really comes by being able to actually win basketball games. But if you don't really have that sense the start, and it's always this at the basics, at the bottom of the rung of the ladder, really being able to get yourself to that first step, and that's the process of rebuilding. Taking those slow steps up that ladder till you're to the top.
In the rebuilding process, where do you see this program at in 5 years? Obviously, it's going to be tough these first few years, but you talk about you want a long-term goal here. You want a goal. So, what do you plan? Looking at the moves you want to make this year, what are you doing this year to set up for that 5-year goal?
Well, I'll tell you this. I would have not even considered this job, or even really looked at it very hard, if I didn't believe that Northern Michigan could come back and win championships. Because that's the pinnacle. The pinnacle is, we just talked about all the rungs of the ladder, right? But the pinnacle is in a situation where you're hanging banners and getting rings. Because that's the sense of the achievement of your team accomplishing what they set out to do. And yeah, I expect that we will be able, and I'm not doing my job if in 5 years we're not in contention for those sorts of things.
Question for Forrest. How will you measure success of your new coach in steps, year 1, year 2, year 3, and what are you looking for?
I'd just like to see progress each year, both in the classroom and on the court. It's hard to set a timetable for these things. I hired a coach up in Fairbanks named Mick Durham that came in, and the first year the team was 5-23, and the next year they were 16-12, and he was the coach of the year. but there has to be some luck to have that happen. You know, he had some transfers come in that turned out to be really good players. But I see all the same qualities in Bill. You know, he's a hard worker. He's very organized, detail-oriented. You wouldn't believe the amount of detail we've been going over over the last week here as we've gone through this hiring process, and that's a good sign. That to me is a sign of paying attention to everything that's required to be successful. So I have no doubt that the program is going to be successful, and we're not going to put a timetable on it. It's just, you know, we just want to see it go in the right direction, and I think the community wants a program that they can be proud of, that when they go watch it, that they know that they're quality kids. They're kids that are volunteering in the community, doing the right things in the classroom, progressing toward their degree, competitive on the court. And, you know, if we keep doing those things, I don't know if it'll be 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, but we'll have competitive teams that'll be right in the mix for championships. So I'm looking forward to helping support this. I think, you know, from the administration's point of view, from our whole department's point of view, and really the whole community, it's up to all of us to help support this rebuilding process. And that means different things to different people. It might mean community members having Karen and Bill and their kids over for dinner, or having the team over for an occasional meal, joining the booster club, doing whatever you can do, your little part. And we're going to do that as an administration. We know Bill's going to do it as a coach. He's been doing it for years. And if we all kind of do that, I think we're going to have a lot of success.
Bill, how much time right now, you know, the first month or two here in the off season leading up to the season, how much time is spent on recruiting and preparing this program for the season, and how much time do you spend on, you know, some of the stuff Forrest mentioned, you know, community involvement, you know, public relations and stuff like that, maybe trying to repair a little bit of the perception of the program?
I think all those are important, and that's why when you're a head coach, especially at the Division II level, you got to be multifaceted, because you have to do all those things. You have to recruit, you have to build a program, but I think it's so important because it's so rewarding for the players that I've had over the years of doing those things in the community, being able to get into the schools for a family fun night and be around the kids. You know, we've done just some of the most interesting things at Ferris that I think just bonded our team, and it was a lot of community service type projects. You know, one time we just spread a whole bunch of mulch at the playscape in 95-degree heat, but you know what, the head coach, the assistant coach, and all the players were there, and they grumbled about it, but you know what, the funny thing is that's what they talk about, like you see them on Facebook. You know, you remember that time we were out there sweating, and I was, you know, not happy with you, but we finished the task. But those types of things of being involved, I think, are so essential, because just like Big Rapids, Marquette is a community unto itself. And if you want to be in a position where you actually get people in the seats to actually watch you play, it's way easier if you're in the schools and you know, Johnny or Susie comes home and wants mom and dad to take him to a game because they saw one of the players, you know, over at a recess, or, you know, reading in class, those sorts of things. And so I think, number one, that's essential, community involvement. And I would never turn down a chance to have a speaking engagement anywhere, because I think the more that you can get out there and sell your brand and sell, you know, what Northern Michigan basketball is all about and what we have a vision for it to be, the greater chance that again, because it's everybody together is how it really moves forward, and it actually gets to a program that goes back to the stuff that when we talk about tradition and winning seasons, and how many winning seasons in a row, you know, through those incredible eras of great coaches.